Hello everyone and welcome to the third tutorial in our survival game series done by Brackeys. I am the CEO of Brackeys, and today we continue on with the melee system. Hopefully we finish that off. So let's go ahead and open up Unity, and the project is just like last time, and we can go ahead and double click on our melee system script to open it up in Mono Develop. And yes, okay. So right now, if we run this script in Unity, it's going to send out this message that our enemy needs to lose damage. But it won't just send this out if we are in a certain distance. It will send this out if we just point at him. So it won't matter how far away he is from us. So we need to make a new if statement. So go to the line on the distance equal hit.distance and make an if statement. And in this type, if distance is under. And now we need to make a new variable. So go up to the top, and under the variable distance, make a new line, type var, and type max distance. So this is the variable that we will be declaring in Unity, and setting in Unity, and it's basically how far away the object can be from us before we can still hit it. So it's going to be a type float, and if I did not mention this, the difference between an int and a float, an integer is just a whole number, a number without decimals, but a float has decimals. So it's going to be a type float, and it's going to be equal, let's say, about 1.5. That's a pretty good number, I think. And then ended up with a semicolon. Okay, so go back to the code we were writing. So if distance is under max distance. So if the distance from us to the opponent is under the max distance that we want it to be, then we want to send out the message telling our enemy to lose damage. So start curly bracket and end the curly bracket after the send message. And we can just go ahead and tap this out to make it a little bit more clear. So go ahead and save this by hitting Control S. And now go back to Unity. And if we go under player, main camera, and select our melee, you can see that a new variable has popped up called the max distance. So if we go ahead and hit play, and now go into Unity and click the mouse, you can see that something should happen when the distance is below 1.5, and we can set this to something else. So you can fine tune this, play around with it. But right now, nothing is really happening. So we need to create a very, very simple opponent. And right now, our opponent doesn't need to do anything else than lose health. I know that's pretty boring, but that's what we'll need him to do. So we'll make a new opponent. This time we're just going to make a capsule, going to game object, create other capsule, and then zeroing out the transform to get him in the center of the scene, and then hitting F in the scene view to center on him, and then dragging him up just above the ground plane, and you can position him wherever you like, just so you can reach him with our player. And now we can go ahead and rename this game object to enemy. And on this game object we want a script, so go to add component, new script, and it's going to be a JavaScript like everything else, and we're going to call this enemy logic just for now. Then create and go ahead and double click the script, and this one is going to be really, really simple. So go into Mono Develop And for now, you can just go ahead and delete the two functions. And we're going to start out by creating a variable. So var, and this variable is going to be called health. And this is basically how much health does the player have. So by default, I'm going to set this to 100. And that's because in our melee system script, we set the damage to be 50, and I would like him to die in just 2 hits. So end this up with a semicolon, and now make some more lines and type function, because we want something to happen in the script, and call it apply damage. And right now all your bells should be ringing because remember, we called this function in our melee system. So this is really what we're doing here. We are checking the distance, and then we're sending a message to this new script that we want to call the function apply damage. So I could call this anything. I could call this hit it or anything like that, as long as it's the same right here. So, okay. But we're doing more than just saying that it should apply damage. Oh, I typed an E there. So, we're doing more than just that. We're also giving it a variable that says how much damage. And that's what we're going to type in these parentheses. So if we go back, we can see what it was called. It was called the damage. So it's going to be the damage. And just to clarify it, we're going to say that it's an integer, just so Unity won't get confused on what kind of variable it is, just so it knows. So what we basically can do here is that we can type out the curly brackets. So we can do something in this function, and we can say that health minus equals the damage. So we can refer to the damage, even though that the damage is from another script. So this is really cool. And basically what this minus equals means, it means that health is equal to health minus the damage. So these two pieces of code is exactly the same. It's just easier to type it out this way. So health minus equals the damage. All right, so now if we save this and go back to Unity, and if we hit play, and we try to center the capsule in our view and press our mouse button, nothing happens with the health. This is the variable you should be looking at. But if we try to get a little closer and then presses our mouse button, you see the health just went down 50 points. And if we press again, it's 0. So our mechanics are now working, and if we continue to click, -0, -100, and so forth, on and so forth. So, but the dying and all this will create that in just a second. Actually, let's just take care of this now. So we could create a whole function for it. But first of all, we want to check whether or not our health is above 100 or is equal to 0, because this way we'll know whether or not our enemy is dead. So go into the enemy logic script and type function, and then type update with a capital letter, and then parentheses and nothing in them, and then make the 2 curly brackets. And now we're going to check how much life we have. So if health, and we want this to check if we are on 0 or below. So if health is under or equal to 0, then we want something to happen. So curly brackets. And then we want to call a function called det, and we'll just type it out this way. So det parentheses and a semicolon. This little piece of code is going to try to call a function. So what we can then do is go down here and create our function called det, and then the parentheses, and then we'll make the curly brackets. And in this we could type something like, yeah, let's destroy the game object. So let's destroy the enemy when it's dead. So in this function det, we just type destroy, and then in the parentheses we type game object with a smaller letter and then a capital, and then close off and a semicolon. So okay, let's go through what the script is doing. So when our melee system decides that okay, we are close enough and we are hitting the fire 1, send the message that we want this amount of damage to be applied to this script, and this script then says okay, something needs to happen, and what needs to happen is that our health gets subtracted by this amount, and then in our update we check if our health is equal to or below 0, and if it is, then we want to initiate the death. So we type death, and then in our dat function we then just destroy the game object. So that's what the computer is going to do for us when we hit play. So let's try this. Oh, we can just go ahead and clear this error. So let's play, and now hit it once and hit it twice, and there you go, the game object disappears. So that's pretty much it for the scripting part of this tutorial. Now let's do some exciting animation and some simple modeling in Unity. So let's go ahead and make a weapon, and you can pretty much make any weapon you want. I'm going to make a mace type weapon, and as I've mentioned before, please do this in other applications. Unity is not meant to model, but just for demonstrative purposes, I am going to show you how to do this. So create a sphere, and this is going to be the tip of our maze. You can just go ahead and drag this up and even zero out the transforms if you want. Actually, I think I'm going to do that. So zero it out and then drag this up. And then I'm going to go ahead and create another game object. This is going to be a cylinder. And I'm going to go ahead and make this a child of the sphere, because this way we can just zero out the transform and it will be directly in the center of the sphere, as we talked about in earlier tutorials. And now we are going to scale this down and make it longer in the y-axis, and then just drag it down. So now we have a grip to hold on to, and maybe make this I'm going to just drag it out so I can scale the sphere without scaling anything else, and just make that a little bit smaller. So all right, a pretty horrible maze, but it will do for now. And maybe the grip should be a little smaller too. So okay, let's try that for a beginning. So I'm going to rename this cylinder to grip and the sphere to maze, and collapse this and collapse this. And I'm going to just drag it over to our player and try to position it in front of the camera, somewhere where it looks all right. This is not exactly the easiest thing to do. All right, so this will do for now, I think. Yeah, okay, that's fine. I'm going to delete the sphere collider, and this is what makes this object collide with other objects in the scene. So if we delete this, it will simply just pass through them, and this is only for graphics. So we want to delete the colliders in both the maze and the grip object. Okay, so now we can go ahead and play our game. And when we play it, you see that our maze is not attached to the player. So we need to drag it onto the player and then onto the main camera. And this way it will follow us around. And in the scene view, this looks pretty silly, but in the game view, it looks all right. And what we are going to do now is we're going to create an animation that will make it look like we are attacking someone. So go to Window and then Animation, or press Ctrl 6, and I'm going to drag this down to where the console is. So now I have the 3 tabs here, and I can drag this up a little bit to get a view out of what I'm doing. And now let's select the maze, and let's press this little red button. This will ask me to create a new animation, and we are going to call this attack and save it. And okay, so now we are going to create some keyframes. So add key on the position Y by pressing this little button, and add a key on the rotation too. So this will add keyframes on both the position values and the rotations. And this allows us to scroll further into our timeline. Let's try out with about 0.10. And by the way, this is a whole second, and this is just milliseconds. So 0.10. And we can go ahead and rotate it a bit, rotate it down, and maybe even sideways. And in order to rotate this sideways now, you see if I try to do it now, its rotation gets all kinds of weird because it rotates based on earlier rotations. So what I want to do is I want to click this global button, and you can see now it says local, and I want to enable and disable this when animating, so I can rotate in different ways. So this is based on the scene, and this is based on the object's rotation, but just play around with it if you can't get it to look quite right. Okay, so wanted to hit something like that, and then I want to move it down a bit and over like this. So if we just take a look at the animation, you can see it looks like he's hitting down there. And now we just wanted to go back to the position that we were in before. And you can do this, but just copying the values. So in the position, I selected this, Control C or Command C if you're on a Mac, go to 0.20, Control V, and then just keep doing this with all the values that change. And this way we'll go back to exactly the same position that we were in before. And notice that the rotation was just 0 on all axes, so we can just go to the 0.20 and type 0 in all the rotation axes. So now we should have a game object that, oh, something went wrong here. Okay, so Control C to get back. You can see, okay, what did we do wrong? So 0.20 and 0 out the rotation. And well, now it's working. It's just Unity playing trick with us. Okay, so we need to take care of the position once again. Just remember that you can always go a step back with Control C or Command C if you're on a Mac. This animation system really needs some debugging. Okay, so you can see now that we have a smooth animation going on. And you can go ahead and select all of this and right click on one of the stars and then select flat. And this will just make the animation a little bit more smooth and cool looking. So if we play this, you can see it looping. And it's not perfect, but it will do for now. And you can go ahead and click this red button, which will take us out of the animation mode, and go back to project. And now that you can see that our maze has an animation component applied to it. And there's one animation in here, and that's the attack. So if we go ahead and disable the play automatically button, it should be all right. So what we need to do now is we need to call this animation. We need it to play whenever we press the attack button. So going back to the melee system by double clicking it and opening up in MonoDevelop. I'm sorry if I'm going a little quick here, but I don't want this to get too long. We can go say that this we want to happen no matter how far away we are from the opponent. The animation should always play at least. So if input.getButton down, then we want to play the animation. So animation with a smaller letter, dot play with a capital, and then in the parentheses, we're going to call the attack. This should be pretty self-explanatory. If we get the button down, then play the animation. It's that simple. So let's go ahead and open up in Unity. Oh, I can see that we have an error. So it doesn't know the attack. Oh, I see. You have to create these. So, okay. Now go ahead and clear this error up. And yes, no errors. And let's play it in Unity. And now when we press... Oh, something is going wrong here. Unity just went haywire. I'm sorry, I'll be back in just 1 second. No, okay, so we have Unity working, but it's not playing. So if we go back... Oh, there's no animation attached to this object. Okay, and this is because we have the script on this melee object, but we want the animation to play from this maze object. And by simply saying animation.play, it is trying to play off of this object. So we want to tell it that this maze needs to play an animation. So we can go ahead and just to get a system to it, we can go ahead and drag this under our melee. And so now it lies there, and doing this, we can have different kinds of weapon. And in our melee script, we're going to open up the melee system. And we're going to make a new variable. And we're going to call this the maze. And we're going to make this a type transform. And I won't explain this in this video, else it will get too long. But we'll cover the transform later. It is used so much. So what we'll then do in this code is we're going to type the maze dot animation dot play. And this way, when we go back to Unity, we'll get a new variable, and we can just drag our maze, selecting this in the hierarchy, into this variable. So now what we're doing is we're saying that this object needs to play an animation, and this object we can just change in Unity. So this is really cool, and this is a very simple way of finding objects and doing stuff off of them, instead of having to go and search for them inside the script, using functions like gameObject.find. Okay, so now if we go ahead and play Unity, you can see the animation playing, and it is a little buggy. I can see that the start position and the end position isn't exactly the same, but we can just go ahead and change this in a moment, and our kill function is still working. So this is really basic mechanics for doing the melee stuff. All right, so what we can simply do now is we can take our position values for this and copy them into the first keyframe here. So it's really because our first keyframe's values are different from our values over here in the scene. And this is probably because of the fact that we dragged it in under our melee, and that way we changed its 0 values. So if you haven't done it already, just make sure that you notice this. And now we should just fix the last keyframe. I really hate animating in Unity. I hate creating models in Unity. Do this in other applications, please. I beg you. So now when we just finish this, all right, and then hit the stop record button and then go into Unity, it looks perfect. So, okay. That is pretty much it for this tutorial. We can go ahead and save out the scene by going to File, Save Scene. And yes, thank you for watching. You can go ahead and hit us up on Facebook and Twitter. I'm out of words. So thanks for watching and have a nice day.